Nick, I'm an idiot. Welcome, everyone. This is William Rochelle with UBU Live, and I'm excited to be here with Lanier Johnston, who is going to teach me, and hopefully you, how to use LinkedIn. And so far, just off the cuff, Lanier has already told me how I'm not accurately using LinkedIn. So we have a lot to talk about. There's so much. So a couple of things I wanted to address is you have more privileges than I do. And I didn't recognize that. So I don't have LinkedIn Premium for Business.
Okay.
So when I was looking at how to scroll and do all the other things, how to have a scrolling banner and do all those other things. And it kept telling me I had to get a premium membership. And then I had to actually kind of Google it to find out the difference in the type of memberships.
Right.
So there's just so much to cover that I don't know about LinkedIn. So I'm taking off these glasses. And before we get started, UBU Live is about full transparency. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm running late. So that's why I had the wrong glasses on. You're seeing my lights come on as we speak. And I kind of sound like I'm out of breath because my guest said, I'm panicking. Bill, where are you? So this is not my fault. This is the fault of me getting. Are you 1 hour early, my friend? You know what? I thought it was 5 o'clock, but then I saw something else that said 4. So I'm living in my own zone. Let me double check. Are we early?
No,
We are
you're
early.
right on time.
Okay,
And it's
good.
8 o'clock in the morning here in New Zealand, Bill.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's really nice to be here. So kia ora from New Zealand, everyone. Thank you so much for joining Bill and I. So my aim today is to give you some ideas about how to use LinkedIn really well if you're looking for a new job, because I know it's difficult out there. The market's tough, a lot of people being made redundant, and jobs can be quite hard to come by, on top of which recruiters aren't necessarily being as communicative as you might wish. That's nice and diplomatic, Bill, isn't it? And so consequently, it can be really difficult to know where you stand with the jobs that you've applied for. But LinkedIn has got a lot of really great features that you can use to help your job search, even if you haven't got premium, Bill. And I'm really happy to talk about the merits of premium. And on top of that, let me start off by saying I can give you 2 free months of that, because LinkedIn allows premium members to share links with a number of other people so they can try it out for 2 months. If you go to LinkedIn itself, it'll only give you 1 month. So after our call is over today, I'll send you the link and you can try it out for 2 months and see if you think it's worth it. Look, I didn't think it was for a very long time because it's not exactly cheap. But after the number of new features that it's added that are only for premium members that really do make a difference, I really think that it's a good idea. And hey, if you can use it free for a couple of months while you're looking for a new job, why not?
Right. So a quick question for you. So what's the difference between what I have, which is a premium membership, and I think you have the premium business? And then how do you actually subscribe to premium business? Because I don't show a link for it.
Right. I understand that there's a free account, then there's premium, and then there's Sales Navigator. Now, Sales Navigator is for companies that want to use LinkedIn for selling. Really, I mean, the name implies that, doesn't it? And that's a much higher level, does a lot more things, has a lot more features. But for most of us, just the sheer plain premium membership, which I think is what premium business is called, is all that we actually need. It allows us to have the scrolling banners. It allows us to send a personalized message when we reach out to connect to people. It allows us to have a lot more job searching features because it gives us access to AI in lots of different ways too. So there are a lot of good reasons for having it, but there should be, and I will put a link in the comments. I'm going to make a note of that. I'll put a link in the comments to where the different layers, if you like, of membership are sitting in LinkedIn so you can go and have a look at them, because I've got a list of all the features. So
That would be great.
Yeah, membership list. Right, I've
So-
made a note of that. When we finish talking, I will go back and put it in the comments.
Sounds fantastic.
Okay.
So with my premium membership, it's not allowing me to get the scrolling banner.
Okay, that's interesting, because I thought the premium membership did. That's what it said. It's what it's been advertised for. However, Bill, I don't think really you're missing out on very much. I think that the jury is still out on the banners, the scrolling banners. We've only had them since the beginning of the year, and they scroll past in 3-second intervals, which is quite quick. So you really have to make sure that what you've got is one message per banner. Otherwise, it just gets lost on people. And I think their eyes glaze over, and what was supposed to be something that was really visually interesting and would stop people with their scrolling has probably just been kind of ignored by people. I think they just go, oh, this looks pretty, but I'll just move on. And they'll either move on down into your profile if they want to know more about you, or they will move on to another profile. So I think it might be a bit counterintuitive. I haven't quite made up my mind yet. I do have them on my profile, and we've been doing them on clients' profiles when we do our makeovers for profiles. But I just think they have to be used advisedly. So don't worry about you can just let your FOMO go on that one.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna leave it there. So what is the top of mind? What's the biggest question that you get, or the biggest thing that you notice that people aren't doing or utilizing within LinkedIn?
I think that most people don't understand that LinkedIn is not just somewhere to put your CV, that it is somewhere where you can go to meet, network, get to know, build professional relationships with those who can help you in your career. And sometimes that's doing it before you need it. Sometimes that's, oh my goodness me, I've just been made redundant, I better get on LinkedIn right now. At that point, you're really paddling madly to catch up, because starting early is a really good way to make sure that you are perfectly positioned when you do need it. It's a bit like digging a well. It's a good idea to dig a well before you're thirsty. And so it's the same with LinkedIn. The best time to start on LinkedIn was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and if not, then today, because it's really important, I think, that you make sure that you have an optimized LinkedIn profile. And the numbers bear this out. If you make really good use of all the aspects of your profile, then you'll find you'll get much more attention from recruiters. And I've got a page of numbers here to share with you, but I think everybody's eyes will glaze over. But one thing I can tell you is that strategic use of LinkedIn makes you 6 times more likely to get hired. That's 6 times more likely to get hired, Bill. So if anybody who's watching takes nothing else away from this but that particular stat, then I think that that's worthwhile, because using LinkedIn well is going to make the job of finding a new job so much easier. And you'll meet some really cool people along the way.
Yes, I have, like Kenneth and you,
and
like everyone out there. So I feel like I'm doing everything I can to utilize LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. And you and I had a conversation 2 weeks ago, I think, privately. And I realized I had no clue about half the features, how robust it was, or little things like the mention. Like if someone mentions you in a comment and you don't reply back, it doesn't go as viral. Kind of talk about that so that people understand how to help support each other on LinkedIn.
Sure. One of the best tactics that you can use, whether you're a job seeker or not, on LinkedIn right now is commenting on other people's posts. Now, it's very clear that organic reach on our posts is way down, and it's been going that way for a long time. And that is very likely because LinkedIn is moving to a pay to post model. And we may see that come along sometime fairly soon. But in the meantime, one of the ways to get more visibility on LinkedIn is to comment on other people's posts. So if I put up a post in which I tag you, which you and I've done, and then you come along and you write a comment about my post or about the conversation we had, or something that indicates that you and I know each other, or you are talking about the topic that I've raised, which of course will be recruitment, and you share a question or an opinion, or say that's all very well in there, but, and talk about something that you're having an issue with, that is going to get you visibility. And it's going to get you visibility outside your network, because your network will likely see your own posts. Fingers crossed, doesn't always happen, but that's what you'd like to hope. But if you are now in my network by commenting on my post, then people in my network are going to see you. And who knows who in my network might be needing somebody with your skills. But it also helps your own posts do better. So whereas a year or two ago, posting was the best tactic that you could be using on a regular basis on LinkedIn, now it's engagement on other people's comments, and it will increase the number of people who visit your profile. Now, that might be a recruiter, it might be somebody who's looking to hire you. So if you do nothing else on LinkedIn, engage on other people's comments. But that's, of course, once you've got your own profile looking absolutely splendid.
Right. Okay. I've been doing it all wrong. So I've been post, and literally I set it and forget it. That's my thought of the day. I'm going to leave it there. And I rarely go back and look at it, because a lot of times, the feedback could be great, it could be negative, and I don't really want to get into an argument or, my feathers ruffled. So me not commenting back when people say something is actually not doing me any favors.
It's harming you, in fact. So it means that your post is going to be seen by virtually no one, because what LinkedIn does, when it first sees your post, it'll put it out to a few people, maybe 10% of your network. And if it gets some engagement, then it'll send it out to a few more people. And how do you get engagement? You give engagement. Because if you comment on other people's posts 45 minutes before you post and an hour after you post, 5 to 10 comments, really good comments, then more people will see your post. It's kind of that rule of reciprocity thing, but without I do something for you and you do something for me, without it being quite so direct as that. Because if you're visible on LinkedIn by commenting on other people's posts, they're going to look at you. They're going to look at your post. Your posts are going to come up in their feed, and they are going to see much more of you, and therefore, again, another chance to be seen by their networks. And if that person's got a good sized network, thousands of connections or followers rather than just hundreds, it's going to make a big difference to your visibility. So if I could respectfully suggest, pull back on the posting, Bill, and start engaging on other people's comments. But you need to reply to the comments on your own post. Now, if somebody's put up something that you don't like, as argumentative, as you suggested, doesn't often happen, I find, or they try to hijack your post by saying, hey, buy Bitcoin from me, or however it works, then you can just delete their comment, move on, and nobody else is going to see it, and then you don't even have to deal with it, and your feathers will not be ruffled. But, LinkedIn is about debate and discussion, so be open to that, I think.
Absolutely. So I will delete the buy the Bitcoin, but if it's an opposite, if it's an opposing view, I leave it, because that's the point of social media, is to get everyone inside. This is very interesting. So pull back on the post and engage more with other people's posts.
Yes.
Does it matter? Does it make a difference if I reply to someone who has like 100,000 followers versus someone who has 100 followers?
you are less likely to be noticed by the person with 100,000 followers than you are by the person with 100 followers, who will be very grateful that you have in fact commented on their post, right? The other person is probably not even going to notice it, as I say. But the question then becomes, which has the larger network that you're going to be seen in? So if the person with 100 followers is really in a niche area and you really want to get seen by the people in that person's network because it's niche, that's where you should put your efforts. You are likely just to be one of a number in the big scheme of things for the larger one. So it's actually more sensible to think about the person themselves rather than the follower number, who they are, what they do, who they serve, and their network and niche. Because if you then follow those people or are connected to those people and you engage on their content, then they will notice you. And you don't know who they know who might be ready to offer you a job. Because I'm pretty convinced, I haven't seen any figures on this for ages, but I'm pretty convinced the jobs are often not advertised, that they're often done by word of mouth. Certainly that's the
I believe
case
that.
here in New Zealand. And the 3 people on my team, that's how they all came about. And so I didn't advertise for anybody at all. But that doesn't mean to say that LinkedIn's not good for that, but because there are other ways to be able to use LinkedIn well, to be able to fit in with that. Because I know a lot of people are searching for jobs on LinkedIn, and there's hundreds of thousands of jobs being advertised all the time. But it's about finding the people who have got the jobs that are not being advertised that you're the perfect fit for. So you still need to be posting, Bill. Don't just drop it altogether. Keep posting, but do make sure that you are also commenting. Now, here's something new that I've discovered when it comes to posting content on LinkedIn, which I think is quite nifty, and that's using AI. Now, when I was not last a guest on your show, we had you had a guest also who was a recruiter who mentioned AI and said that as a skill for a job seeker, it was a given. It wasn't a nice to have anymore. You absolutely had to have AI skills. I don't know whether that's true or whether that's not. I live in New Zealand, so I don't think that's probably the case here yet. But I do think that knowing about AI is a good idea, because here's what I think you can do. And I do this all the time. I'm on an event like this. I get the recording, get a transcript of it, and then I ask AI to create different forms of content for me. I can get an article, a LinkedIn article, which is what I posted on Monday. I can get a carousel, a document post. I can get a poll if I really wanted to do that, a blog post for my website, and a summary. So all of the different kinds of content from each event that you are involved in. Now, Bill, you're involved in lots of events. You must have content coming out your ears. And AI is a really good way to be able to use that really quickly, really easily. Don't forget to check it for mistakes and to make it sound like you. But then if you can spend less time on the content, it gives you more time to be spending on the engagement. And there's another new feature to do with engagement that people may not know yet. And that is when you engage on somebody's comment, engage on somebody else's post, so you write a comment, you can see how many impressions or views your comment has had. So that is a really good way to identify authors or content creators who are getting good visibility on their posts. And if they are, you want to be commenting more because you'll be seen more. And also a good idea, though, if you've seen a post that's already got 50 or 60 comments on it, you've probably missed the boat on that one. You want to be commenting on a post quite early in its life. And the best way to do that is to go to your notifications, which, while they don't show you everything that you've asked to see, they will show you some of the posts from people that are in your network that have been put up most recently. And then that gives you a chance to get in on the ground floor of the comments.
So that's where I get kind of confused with LinkedIn, is the notifications part. So you said, hey, I mentioned you in this comment, and you haven't replied. And I said, I went to the notifications. I don't see a mention. And in the notification bar, there's a place that says, sorry about this. It literally says mentions.
Yeah.
And I clicked on it and I have no mentions, like zero. But I know for a fact that, for instance, Kenneth has mentioned me before in a post. You've mentioned me before, but those aren't coming up for me. So what am I, is there a setting?
It's not you. It's absolutely not you. It's at LinkedIn's end. That didn't work for me for months until my fabulous team member got onto LinkedIn and created a bit of a stink and made and fix it up for me. So the best way for you to find out how you are being whether you're being tagged is by making sure that the people who are likely to tag you, like me, for example, know that you're likely to miss the notifications and ask them to send you the post, because it's very easy to send a post just from a button at the bottom of it. And in fact, I advise that anytime you tag someone in a post, then send it to them, because they are very likely to miss it in their notifications. I miss them all the time. And so unless somebody sends it to me, I am really likely not to see it. So that damages your post if I don't see it, because that's the way the algorithm works. So you do want the people you've tagged to comment on it if you possibly can. So send them the post or the article. That would be my suggestion around that.
Yeah. Sounds good. So I want to step back for a little bit and make sure that you're covering the things that you want to cover, because I have so many questions. I have so many questions that are specific to me. And, I want to make sure that you're speaking to not an audience of one, but to everyone out there. So I'm going to stop asking questions and I'm going to hand it over. And I can also, at some point, if you don't mind, present my screen and show you the different error messages that I get, and you can kind of talk me through it live on air.
Absolutely. Okay. All right. So I wanted to do some research before I came on the call with you today, because I felt it was a good idea to be up to date with some of the latest numbers and figures and what is going on. Now, I don't want to go through all of them because, as I say, they make your eyes glaze over. And I've already mentioned that strategic use of LinkedIn makes you 6 times more likely to get hired. Now, the question really is, what is strategic use of LinkedIn? And it's all very well bandying around these marketing jargon terms, but unless you actually know what that means, I mean, really, you're just floundering about. So I want to start with that, if I may. And so what that really means is how you optimize your LinkedIn profile. There's another great marketing term for you. How you play the game on LinkedIn. So that means making your profile fit what LinkedIn recruiters, or LinkedIn itself and recruiters, want and need, how they're searching for people on LinkedIn. And so the things that you need to know are these: that your about section is the single most powerful section in your entire profile. It allows you to have 2,600 characters. That's about 350 words, give or take, because this is important, because the search engine, the algorithm, is 1.5 times more likely to find you if you have got a well-written about section. What's well-written? Well, it needs to be interesting and readable so that somebody starts to read it and goes on reading it. But also it needs to tell your story, where you've been, what you've done, who you are, what your values are, what's important, what you've learned, and where you want to go, what your vision is, what your dream is, so that people get a good understanding of who you are as a person. But it also needs to include keyword phrases. Now, those are the ones that get picked up by the search. Those are the ones that recruiters are looking for. So it may be skills, it may be a job title, it could be whatever it is. And I'm not a recruiter. I've not worked in recruiter for years. And so I'm not au fait with all of that, but I do think it's important to know what recruiters are looking for. Now, at the bottom of your about section, you can list up to 5 skills. This is critically important because those 5 skills will be found in search. So they need to be your most important ones. So your skill section, of course, sits further down your profile, and you can pick out 5 to add to your about section. And look, it comes with a nice little star and it's nice and visual. So I always recommend making sure that you do have your 5 top skills listed there. Now, while I'm on skills, it's useful to know you can have 100 listed. It used to be only 50. So make good use of that. But there's a trick to this, Bill, and I want to share this with you because a lot of people don't know this. When you see a drop-down menu on LinkedIn, when you're editing your profile anywhere, and particularly on skills I'm talking about here, if you start to type something, say it's strategy, and you start typing the word strategy, there'll be all kinds of phrases that come up in the search using the word strategy. Now, you need to use one from that list. Don't make up one. Don't choose one that's not on the list. Choose one that's on the list, because that is what is called a market value filter, a very unsexy title for being found in search. So anytime you're faced with a drop-down menu on LinkedIn, choose something from it. And that is particularly important with skills. And make sure that you have as many skills as you possibly can. Recommendations is another thing that's really important. Social proof. If I want to find out if you're any good at what you do, I want to see other people saying that you're really good, because, you can say yourself, you're absolutely fantastic. But if other people say you're fantastic, I'm much more likely to believe you. So make sure that you have a good half a dozen or even more. More is better when it comes to recommendations. And make sure that you have some from your colleagues, from people who've employed you, from people in your professional networking. Anybody who knows you professionally, ask them to create a recommendation for you. Now, I can even write you a recommendation as an event host. Why not? Oh, you're doing these as part of what you're doing, who you are now. So why not have a recommendation there about your hosting of these events? And so that's the kind of thing that I think people need to think about, a bit of lateral thinking about who they might include in things like this. Now, if you are active on LinkedIn, you're 3 times more likely to be discovered by recruiters. 3 times more likely. Now, what does active on LinkedIn mean? Doesn't mean you have to be here all day, every day, like me, but you do have to be here regularly. Show up consistently, invite people to connect with you, start discussions with people, comment on other people's posts, and generally be a good LinkedIn citizen. And if you do that, you are much more likely to be able to be found by recruiters. And at that point, I'm going to let you have a question or two. This is, after all, your show, Bill. I haven't forgotten.
A question or two. Though that was a lot. So one of the areas that you just discussed is, optimization and prioritization and keywords. And all of that sounds great in the algorithm, but I do also get stuck with the LinkedIn reporting being off. Do you find that?
What do you mean by reporting exactly?
So I have a newsletter associated with LinkedIn, and it goes up to a specific number, like 50. And then when it hits 51, it drops down to 47. And then it goes back up to 51, and it goes back to 47. And I reached out to the LinkedIn support team, and they said, well, it's not our fault that no one wants to read your newsletter.
Oh,
literally, like, maybe you need to write better content. But being a data guy, you notice certain specific trends. So why isn't it going past 51? So that's obviously something within their system. I understand people will drop off. There's bots that they kick off. I get all that stuff, right? But it's always between these 5 digits.
That is really weird. But there are a couple of things. One, I don't think that you can necessarily be 100% confident about the numbers that you're seeing. That's the first thing. I do think that there are some inaccuracies in the system, which is also very diplomatically put, Lanier, if you may say so. I do think too also that making sure you are connecting to new people on a regular basis, because when you invite someone to connect, and they do so, they are automatically sent an invite to subscribe to your newsletter. And so that is the single best way to increase the reach of your newsletter. Is by connecting to new people. You can always invite new people. And if you are a premium member, you can actually put your newsletter. Actually, you may not have to be a premium member for this. I think if you have a newsletter, it'll go in your featured section anyway. So there's an invite to subscribe to it right front and center. So bring it right into the front of your featured section, make it one of the first three so that people will subscribe to it. But I think I've had this happen to me before. There's been a bit of a hump and you can't get over that hump for some reason. And it doesn't seem like the numbers kind of add up and you just wonder what's going on.
Right.
And sometimes all of a sudden, and then what it'll do, it'll go from 51 to 70. And you'll go, but how did that happen? I've been stuck here for 2 months, and now it's up to that. And
Right.
I wouldn't worry about it. And I'm certain that your newsletter is worth reading. If it's anything like the article of yours at the weekend that I commented on because I thought it was very well done, then your newsletter is definitely worth reading. And anybody watching, go over to Bill's profile right now and subscribe to his newsletter.
Wow. Thank you for the pitch. I wasn't expecting that.
That article is very good.
I thought that when you connected with someone, it automatically had them follow you. I didn't know it gets into invitation to the newsletter.
Yes, it does. It does both of those two things. Yeah, which is good.
So,
but you should also send them an invite to your company page if you've got one. But that's just something else.
So, God, there's all these different ways I want to go, right?
Sure.
And so we're not going to touch on everything today, and we might have a follow-up one maybe next week or 2 weeks from now because there's just so much. But my question to you is, first of all, no matter what you say, I don't think I'm going to stop. But I do write about things that are controversial. And for me, they're not controversial. To me, there's right versus wrong. And you don't have to think like me, and I'm not going to bring that into the business. But I also want to work in an environment where we can have different views and still be okay. Yeah. You be you is my whole, my mantra for everything. Do you think I'm doing myself a disservice by doing that?
No, I don't. I think that it's important for people to know what your values are, what's important to you, because as a job seeker, you don't want to be working for a company where the values are counter to yours. You'll be massively unhappy if you do that. And if people don't feel the same way as you, and they don't think that you have a right to tell it for you to be you, then they're not the people that you want in your network, Bill. Now, when I commented on your article at the weekend, I lost 4 followers immediately.
Really?
And I noticed that because of something else I'd been doing. And normally that numbers just fluctuate and that's fine. But I went, oh, that's really interesting. But people who unfollowed me, because you have to actively do that, they're not necessarily then the people that I want in my network if they don't see the value of being able to comment on the events that are going on around the place. Now, I am really staunchly advocating that LinkedIn is about business, but so much that is going on in the world today affects business. And so I think that standing up,
that's my
being
point.
counted is important, right? And by doing that, you will attract the people that you can work with and who want to work with somebody like you, who can cogently put an argument together in a very well written way and have them on their team, because they know that you're capable of doing this. And that's a rare skill. But I've been a professional writer all my adult life, and that was a really well written article, and I don't say that lightly. So that's a fantastic skill for people to want to have. Stick it on your profile.
It came from passion because I lived through it. My business actually dissolved because of the supply chain issues related to COVID. So everything that's happening right now, when we see empty docks and laborers laid off, and it's going to affect the train service. And so that's why I think it is about business. When you think about what's going on, it's going to affect all of it. And I think the article is really small businesses prepare, because this is what's going to happen. These are the things that are going to start to tumble. And I agree with Cher. I think Cher and I could probably work really well together. The world will be boring.
You can't have her. She's mine. She's mine, Bill. You can't have her.
But she's right. It would be boring if we all thought the same. And even as I talk about it, I don't mind working in a diverse company with diverse thought, because that allows you to, especially in sales, it allows you to reach the entire nation. But I wouldn't want to work someplace where, the foot was put on my neck and my voice was stifled. So I'm going to keep doing it. I believe that if we don't, in this moment, if we don't really share how we're feeling, honestly, and what's going on, then we're complicit. But that's enough about that's enough about the political.
But you're right, and I absolutely agree with you. As I say, very well written article. If you haven't read it, pop over to Bill's profile, because it's worth a read.
Thank you so much.
Bill, can I talk about some new features for job seekers?
Yes, because I need to know them.
Okay. I've got a PDF of these, and unfortunately they can't be added to the comments because that's not how LinkedIn rolls. But if anybody gets in touch with me, or I'll send it to you too, and gets in touch with me or you either now, because the call is still live, or afterwards if you're watching it on replay, then I'm happy to send this to you, and I'm sure Bill will be as well. There are a bunch of features that this list is 9 pages long. It's got photos in it, so images, so you can see what you're looking for. But 9 pages long of new features just for job seekers in the last 2 years. So it's a really good way of finding out what you are not using on LinkedIn that you could be, that could really be helping you to find your new job. Now, you probably know that AI is really big on LinkedIn. They're using it all over the place, and it's getting more, it's happening more and more. I'm not convinced that LinkedIn's AI is very good. I've not had very good experiences with it, but that's because I'm pretty over the moon with what ChatGPT can do for me, and so everything compares to that. So anything I'm using in my own work with AI, I'm doing it off the platform and then bringing it back in on the platform, like I mentioned, repurposing content earlier on. Now, so there are a number of AI features for job seekers, but they do require, in the main, a premium account. So I won't worry about those ones right now, because I think that most people probably don't have premium. But for anybody joining us now who missed this earlier, you can try premium free for a month directly from LinkedIn, or if you get in touch with me, I can give you 2 months on that. I've only got a few, so you'll need to be in quick if you want to do that. So let me talk about a couple of these specific things. And as I say, I've got a PDF which shows you the images. First of all, you can search for companies which are hiring right now. So that's a feature that sits up in the search bar at the top. So if you want to know who in your network is currently hiring, then that is a really good place to go to make sure that you're on top of what's going on, because it must be as a job seeker, quite easy to miss things, I imagine. One of the problems with jobs listed on LinkedIn is that they might not be real. And so there is a verification way that you can make sure that your the job you're looking for is actually real. Doesn't always work because it has to be done from the job, the hirer's side, not from yours. Sorry, just a minute. Too much talking. You can get a LinkedIn coach. That will, and again, this is an AI one though, that helps guide you through the process of looking for a job. You can find people, again, this is a search function in your network who've turned on the hiring bar. That's the one around their profile image. That's always a good way. Job alerts. You might not know that there is something called job alerts that are in your settings and privacy area. And that's a good segue into this. If you've not really looked at your settings recently, do just pop over and have a bit of a dive into there. See what there is that you might have turned off that you could turn on that would give you more accurate information about what's going on in the recruitment area.
Where is that section?
It's on the top right-hand side under settings. So under the photo of you on the right-hand side where it says me, and there's a drop-down arrow there. If you click on that, there's settings and privacy sit underneath that. That's where you change things like your primary email and your visibility settings and all those kind of things. So do have a good look at that because they make some changes in there that they often don't tell anybody about. I think using your network when you're looking for a job is a really good thing to be doing. And so there is this actively hiring tab in the search area, which when you combine it with a company name, that company you want to work for instance, and your first degree connections, you can see who you're connected to, who works at the organisation that is currently looking for staff. Now, the reason that this is so important is because we tend to, I think in the main, particularly where jobs aren't advertised, hire people that we hear about through other people, that we know that are good people, that have been recommended to us, or we have a relationship with of some kind. And so building relationships with people who are in a position to hire you or who know when a job is coming up, I think makes a really lot of sense. And there are multiple ways that you can do that on LinkedIn. And it's why building a relationship with people ahead of needing to use them for, hey, I'm looking for a job, is always a really good thing to be doing. Now, I think it's important to note, and I did have this written down somewhere, that it's not so useful. Where did I find that? Oh, yes, here we go. If you have the open to work banner on your profile, so that's the one that goes around your profile photo that says open to work. Recruiters don't like that. And so that is not a good thing to use. And thank you for your comment, Jeremy. The check is in the mail.
So I get mixed. So I've gotten mixed messages regarding that. So yeah. So you and I,
Yes.
the reason why we're doing this one is because I had you on a podcast called Recruiters and Candidates, and it was 6 people. It was way more people than I expected. And so we didn't really get this version of Lanier. I think she got maybe 6 minutes of like a 2-hour segment. It was awful. I feel bad for that. But
we're here now.
But you're here now. But Angela Greer said, and I've tested this too. I've taken it up and I put it up, open to work, and then I've taken it down.
Mm-hmm.
And what Angela said was she received comments from people saying they just thought that she'd gotten a job. And I've done both. I've taken it down and I've put it up.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen a difference. But for some odd reason, you're not supposed to act like you need a job.
No. And isn't that counterintuitive?
Yeah, it is. But it's the truth. Sometimes people feel as if, for whatever reason, if you're not hired immediately, they
Yeah.
think, well, why hasn't this person been hired in a year? Well, maybe I
Yeah.
wasn't looking very hard the first 6 months, and you know, and now,
It's all about the algorithm, really. And the algorithm does not favor people who are not currently employed. And that, of course, is really difficult if you've been made redundant, right? But I've got to work around for that. I've got to work around for many things.
okay,
But what it does seem is that, and these figures came, and I will reference this because I think it's important that people know that I'm not just pulling these figures out of thin air. Richard Vanderblom, who's an internationally known social seller on LinkedIn, creates an annual LinkedIn algorithm report. This year's one, which only came out a fortnight ago, is 250 pages long, Bill, and I've only just finished wading through it. And so he bases his numbers, which these numbers I'm sharing with you come from, on hundreds of thousands of profiles and posts and information. Comes from a variety of sources, and so I would say that it is probably the most accurate that there is. Now, the algorithm is always a mystery, and there's more than one algorithm, of course. So the algorithms, plural, are a mystery. They change on a dime. LinkedIn is never transparent about what they actually say or do.
none of them
And
are.
so it's really, really tricky. And of course, this report is necessarily reported on things that have happened in the past. But that's the best information that we have at the moment. So in answer to Robert's question, I don't actually know why recruiters don't like the banner at all. In fact, and I wouldn't even like to hesitate a guess, but I will see if I can find out about that for you, Robert, and put something in the comments a little later on. But I do have a couple more numbers to share with you while we're talking about this. The private setting, which is where recruiters only know that you are looking for work, performs 2.5 times better for in-mails and visibility. So that means that it's really important that you don't use the public one, but you put it on privately to tell people that you are open to looking for work. And here's something that's not even related to that, but which is really important. And so many people forget this, is having your contact details section fully completed. You have no idea the number of people's contact details I go to find an email address and find their private Gmail account there and not their business address. And so I think it's really important that people use their proper business or work email address in their contact information section, or another way of getting hold of you. And also put that in your about section, at the bottom of your about section where you put your call to action, an email address in there is a good idea. Make it easy for recruiters to find you. I think that is really important. And there's one more thing I wanted to mention that I think that people can be doing a lot better if they have already left a job and haven't yet got another one. And that is, what do you put on your profile in the experience section? And the experience section is what recruiters see. And I think they only see the first line or so when I look at that. It's really important to make sure that you have got that all your current experience has something listed for your current date. So if you were made redundant last month, you need to have something that starts from there as your current role. Now, the best way to do this is to create a job title that includes your keywords, the things that you're looking for in terms of your role, and then to create a section about that as if you're looking for a job. So you write about the kind of job that you're looking for, include keywords and keyword phrases that recruiters are likely to pick up on, the algorithm picks up on, and so sends your profile to recruiters. And then put it under your own name, because that's often a problem for people. What name do I put a job under that doesn't actually exist, right? But if you put it under William Rochelle Don't make it a limited company or whatever the equivalent is on in the US, but just put it under your own name and then start a role that has you with these titles that you are looking for. Then
Right.
you can share your milestones, what you've done, the things you're looking for, your skills, your achievements, all of those. And that gives you another way of reaching recruiters who may be looking for somebody with your particular skills. Because it's really difficult if your skills don't match those that the recruiter is looking for. But there are some premium account ways to be able to find all that information out and match your profile to the jobs that are being advertised. But that's a discussion for another call, William.
There's so much knowledge that we're gaining from you right now. And it leads to so many different questions. So I'm going to, I can only speak for myself. If you guys have questions for Lynette, please put them in the comments. In my mailbox, I forget to look at, well, let me tell you, I have my main mailbox and then it says others. And in the others, I think it's focused and it's others. I never look at the other category.
You might be missing out, Bill.
So how do you merge them? I mean, is there a way to merge them?
Oh, no, I'm not going to defend LinkedIn's mailing system. It's awful. If they could do it like Outlook, I'd be really happy where you can, shift things around and do all kinds of various things. You can move them about. But it doesn't sound to me like you're seeing the full range of things that are available in the messaging area, because there's also a jobs box. So you can move jobs or messages about jobs into a jobs folder, if you like, so that you don't miss them, that you can always go back and check. But the mailing system's hopeless. I absolutely agree. And you'll even find unread messages that sit amongst your starred messages or under your My Connection messages. They don't all just sit in unread at all. So you have to go through each of the folders that you've got on a regular basis. Otherwise, you will miss things. Yes, I can't defend that one. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm going to ask you another question for job seekers. Sure. I get emails from people that say, "Hey, I love your profile. Send me your resume. I'd love to connect. I'm a first-class recruiter," and then they have 2 connections, and they're from American Samoa. And in my mind, so there's this tug of war that goes on, right, Lynn there? I want a job, and this person is saying they have it, but they have 2 connections. So how connected could they be? What is your thought?
Well, you've answered your own question. The fact that this has raised a red flag in your own mind should tell you everything that you need to know. Not only that, if somebody says to you, "I'm a first-class recruiter," what does that tell you about them? That's what they're saying, but who else is saying it? Probably no one. So somebody who has to say that that's what they are isn't really, are they, at all? So 2 connections, no, I don't think I'd be bothering with that. I would not waste my time. They don't understand. People with only 2 connections do not understand how LinkedIn works, and I simply just think that they are just have seen you somewhere and just want to take a punt.
Or they're a bot.
Yeah, or they're a bot, which is probably more likely, actually.
Right. That's the feeling I get. And normally I get them back to back with the same message, and then I just ignore it. So, you go then. And maybe not back to back, but within like the same 2 days. And I'm like, okay, this is a different person, but the American Samoa and the same message.
But you raise a really good point, though, about checking people's profiles for authenticity and believability. And you can look at the about this profile on everybody's profile to see when they joined LinkedIn, when they last updated their profile image, or do some other things. So always check that. It sits in the More menu, in the drop-down menu in the More section of your profile intro. And if you are even receiving invites from people, you should be looking at that for everybody, just to see how legitimate you think it might actually be.
Right. So before I forget, because this has been on my mind for a second, you stated that some of the jobs on LinkedIn aren't real.
Yes.
And I believe that. And so let's talk about two things: the
Mm-hmm.
easy apply button
Mm-hmm.
and the fake jobs, because I see the same job listed month after month, and you could tell they've received 5,000 applicants. And I keep saying to myself, they haven't found one good candidate out of 5,000. So kind of talk us through that.
Well, my impression, and I need to say this again, is that I'm not a recruiter, so take this under advisement. Really, I think that there is something either intrinsically wrong with the way they've advertised the role. It's an ongoing role, and they've got a revolving door process that nobody stays for very long, or it doesn't really exist at all. So I think that now that you can see how many people, and I'm pretty sure this is still correct, you can see how many people have applied for a job, and you've said that. If you've seen a job where 5,000 people have applied, that should ring alarm bells with you. If something's not right, doesn't look right, doesn't feel right in some way, Bill, it generally isn't. And so just move on and put your efforts instead into finding those roles that other people aren't looking for, aren't seeing, because they may not yet exist, because they don't know that you, with your skills, are available, and that they can make a role that's going to fit their organization using you because now they've found somebody. A lot of companies just do not want to go through the hassle of having to advertise. And so they will use these backdoor methods of finding somebody. So it's about being visible on LinkedIn through all the different ways that we've talked about today, and making sure that people know that you are there, willing and able, and you've got these skills. So creating content like you do is a good idea to showcase the kind of skills that you have got. And I really do think that that's important. You're doing events like this. Well, that puts you in another minority, puts you right up there in the top 1% of people, Bill, because of even
I'm
the
a
one
one percenter.
you are, but more than that, you're a one percenter of the 1 to 2% of people who produce content on LinkedIn. The number is really infinitesimal. Exactly. And so you should be proud of that, and you should be putting that in your profile and making sure that people understand that this is what you're doing. That this is, yes, you're doing these because you want to learn. And that's and that's what I do with my life.
Absolutely.
Well, but you are also making this information publicly available to other people who need it or could use it as well, which puts you in a different category altogether from somebody who just wants to take information and hold it. You are prepared to give and share. That makes you a particular kind of person who would be a good employee to have on a team. And so I think that you should really see what you are doing here as something that is going to help you to find a new role, because we don't know who's watching live right now. You can
Right.
see from your side how many people are. I can only see the people in the comments, and we only really know that people are here if they have comments. So please do say hi in the comments if you are here on the live event. But the replay, which you'll put up onto YouTube, we'll put up onto YouTube, we'll repurpose between us. You and I will have a chat about that.
Yep.
All of that information means it's going to be disseminated to a much wider audience. And who knows from what will come from that. And that's the magic of LinkedIn, which is really where we started right at the beginning, was what is LinkedIn good for? It is good for people meeting people, people learning about people, building relationships, getting to know people. I live in New Zealand, bottom of the world, next stop Antarctica. But here I am talking with you this morning, your evening, afternoon in the United States. You know, technology is a remarkable thing, and LinkedIn enables us to be able to build relationships with people like you and I, Kenneth on the screen there, other people who've very kindly added comments today. You know, all of this is really important, I think, in helping us to be more visible, because the things that we've relied on in the past, posting, no longer work. We need to do things differently.
100% agree. So You said you were only going to give me an hour. I
I'm
want to make
prepared to extend that if you would like to. I'm enjoying our conversation, and if you'd
okay.
like to go over, I'm happy to do that.
I'll go as long as you feel comfortable with because there's so many questions. So maybe another 10 minutes. Is that okay with you?
Absolutely fine.
Okay, so at 5:05 my time, I'm going to point to you and ask you, do you have any final thoughts? And
Okay.
then that gives us enough time.
We'll wrap it up in another 20 minutes. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, gosh, there you shared so much, and I'm just trying to like consolidate it. And so every time you speak, a new question pops into my head, and then I go, and I forget the other one, right?
We
So
need AI in our brains,
I
don't we?
I only have room for
That's
one
it, that's
question
it,
at a
that's it.
time. But I don't want to interrupt you because I'm so enthralled with what you're saying. So one of the things that you keep talking about is AI. And you talked about an AI, I think you said recruiter or job assistant via LinkedIn.
Yeah, there are quite a number of features that use for job seekers that use AI. Yes.
Okay. And is that for premium? Is that free to us or is it?
Mainly they are premium features. And on this PDF that I've got for anybody who wants it, I have noted where it is a premium feature.
Okay.
So that will all be listed there. I've scribbled all over this, so I can't really. Oh, there's one about ask about an AI draft. So there are some things that are free and some that use you need to have a premium account for, unfortunately.
So in your opinion, when people use AI, because it always asks me, do you want me to rewrite your profile? And I'm like, no.
Oh,
no,
it's hopeless.
no.
Don't.
So I like my profile because it's written by me, right? So it speaks to me.
Authentic, trustworthy, credible, all of those things.
So if we're all using AI, are we all going to have like the same tone and the same flow? And, all of a sudden you can't distinguish one person from the next. Or does AI on LinkedIn have the ability to maintain your tone and your emotion and your accomplishments and still refine it? Go.
Okay. I want to make sure that people don't misunderstand me in that I do not think using only AI everywhere on your profile is a good idea. I think that while it is difficult for most of us to write about ourselves in glowing terms, and that's where AI has a benefit because it can do it for us really nicely, we do need to use AI not only to upskill ourselves, but in order to stand out, to be different. Now, you've just suggested that AI might make us sound all the same. And I think that there is a danger of that if we do not learn to use AI well, if we do not train it to speak or write in our own voice. And that, I think, is the key when it comes to using AI. Because it's like any data, you're a data man, rubbish data in, rubbish results out. Rubbish AI prompts in, rubbish output out. So I think it's important that we do use AI really well. The AI that I do not think is very good is LinkedIn's own inbuilt AI. If it asks you to write a message or offers to write a message to rewrite the about section of your profile, and I'm sure there's a third one that, I know, write a post for you, just say, no, thank you, I'm just going to do this myself. And then if you do want to use AI, use another platform, ChatGPT, Copilot, whatever you might be using, and do it off LinkedIn and then import that. I don't understand why LinkedIn's own inbuilt AI is so awful, given that LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft, which is a part owner of OpenAI, which is, of course, the owner of ChatGPT.
I did not know
I don't
that.
understand that. But at this point, there doesn't seem to be any correlation between the two. And until that improves, I do think it's really important not to be using LinkedIn's own inbuilt AI for things like that. Now, if you're wanting to use it for job search, then I think that's a different thing. Now, I don't use it because I am not job searching. I don't use this myself, so I have not had the opportunity to experiment with it and try it out. So you may find it works really well in some circumstances and some of these AI features. You may decide it doesn't, and that's entirely over to you. But it's worthwhile checking those features that use AI out to see if it can help you. Because here's what I do find with AI, Bill, and you will be too, is getting better all the time.
100%.
What it couldn't do yesterday, it may be able to do tomorrow, and probably will.
Let's talk about LinkedIn's course certification education portion of it.
Sure.
That's one thing I want to talk about. The other thing that I want to say, this is a statement, is I'm about to do the Harvard AI first step AI education and get certified through them.
Great.
It is free. Lanier and I have talked about this, and Lanier, right?
Yes.
Have spoken about this, and then in order to get the certificate, it's $299. I really believe it's worth having that certification, but LinkedIn also offers one as well.
LinkedIn offers, through its LinkedIn Learning Program, hundreds, if not thousands, of courses that you can do. Quite a number of them about AI. I've done 5 to date. And the cool thing about doing LinkedIn Learning courses is that once you've completed them, you get a badge on your profile under courses, under licenses and certifications. And if you are a premium member, you can put individual licenses and certifications in your featured section. So just as you can add an individual recommendation to your featured section, you can do the same with courses. Now, they don't display particularly well, but if you want people to note particularly that you've done a certain course because you think that that might give you more of an edge when it comes to job seeking, then by all means add it to your featured section. Do the LinkedIn Learning courses because some of them are very, very good. And if you are doing one that is external, like your Harvard one, then you can add that to your education section.
Yeah.
And from there, you can add that to the top of your profile, right underneath your current job, the company that you're currently working at, and it's right there. And who doesn't want to have a Harvard logo on their profile? Man, oh man, is that really good credibility or what? So I think that's going to be worth the $300.
Yeah, I might do both. I might do the LinkedIn one, but the Harvard one just for the Harvard name. Right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no question. Real kudos behind that. And I think that that's worthwhile remembering in other areas of our profiles too, is that having a really top quality name that everybody recognizes, while it's not always possible, is a really good idea, whether that's somebody who's working at Microsoft as somebody's given you a recommendation or whatever it might happen to be, whether you've worked at a high-end company. All of those things really count, because people respond really well to those kinds of things. And so, again, having that in your education section, and it's worth noting the education section works differently from some of the other areas, so that you can just click one of the different qualifications you've got in education and have that display at the top of your profile. That's what I really like about that one.
So you think that the learning section on AI through LinkedIn has really helped you?
Yeah, absolutely it has. I've got some great prompts from it. There's a great Scottish guy called Dave Burss, Birss, who's really funny. And so I find some of the stuff a bit over the top, over my head really, but he makes it believable, puts it into words I understand, and then gives me something that I can actually take away and try for myself. Some of them even relate to LinkedIn. And so it's really useful, I think, to find a course facilitator in the LinkedIn Learning area that you like, that you warm towards, because you're going to be sitting and listening to them for some hours if you do several of their courses. So you want to find someone that appeals to you. But I do think that doing some of the LinkedIn Learning courses is a very good use of your premium membership. Now, in the United States, You only need a library card, an ordinary library card, public library card, to be able to access LinkedIn Learning. You don't need premium. In New Zealand, I need to have a premium account to be able to access LinkedIn Learning.
Okay.
Some people can do it through their educational institutes, universities, colleges, schools, that kind of thing, if they've signed up to LinkedIn Learning. So you can get it free that way too. Like a number of things on LinkedIn, there are always workarounds. Almost
Right.
things.
How hard are the courses? I mean,
Oh,
you're doing a
if
lot
I
of
can
AI
pass
stuff.
them, if I can pass them, and look, they're multiple choice. So if you get something wrong, it'll take you back to the section where the question was taken from, and you'll re-watch it, and you go, "Oh, that was dumb of me," right? So you do, then you answer it again and get it right until you're 100% correct all through. And then, and I don't think you can cheat with AI either. You might be able to, but I don't want to do that. I want to show that I actually know this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's definitely worth doing those LinkedIn Learning courses. I'm a late adopter to the LinkedIn Learning, but now I'm here. I'm all over it because I'm a lifelong learner, and I think that's an important skill too. If you are somebody who likes to learn, make sure that's on your profile somewhere, or you demonstrate that through the courses that you have done, so that other people know that when they're looking for someone who is also willing to learn.
So when you have the LinkedIn certification from the courses, do you think that LinkedIn starts promoting your profile more because you've taken the courses,
Yeah,
or
I do.
you do?
Yeah,
Because
I think it's part of the search function, definitely.
okay,
And then you can back that up. You see, my thing this year is to learn about AI, and I think it's really important to learn about it because I want to stay
100.
relevant in a fast-changing world, right? And I want to eventually be able to use AI to help my clients and to help my Linkability members to use LinkedIn better. And so that requires me to learn about it. But I don't have that in my profile. I don't have anything about that on my profile. My profile headline, sorry. I don't have anything about it in my profile itself until I feel I've got a body of work behind me, like a number of courses that say I've passed, that I know a bit about AI. But eventually, I'm going to be adding that. So all of this is feeding into where I want to be seen, how I want to be seen. By the end of the year is what I'm hoping for. Now, if that's the case with your job seeking or your upskilling for what you want to do next, starting now and putting those things on your profile is really important so that the algorithm gets to see them, the search gets to see them, because if we've already established this, it's not instant on LinkedIn. The numbers, the search, it takes a while. It's a bit like Google, isn't it? The search, being part of the search, can take several months
right.
to be the bots, go around and do all the searching. So it's important to do it before you need it. And I think that LinkedIn Learning is another way to be able to do that.
Right, staying ahead of the curve. So
Yes.
as promised, we are at 5:12 here. I want to be respectful of your time. So, what are your final thoughts, Miss Johnston?
Thank you, Mr. Rochelle.
Hmm.
My final thoughts are these: that everything you do on LinkedIn comes down to your profile. Whether you are posting, engaging, applying for jobs, reaching out to new connections, people will look at your profile. That is what you need to focus on first and foremost. You need to make sure that every part of your profile is really well used, that you make best possible use of all the features that are available to you. You might, for example, want to add in a projects section. You might, for example, want to add in that you speak multiple languages or that you have professional memberships. All of these things feed into the LinkedIn algorithm and help you be found in search. So you absolutely need to start by making sure that all of the sections of your profile are very well filled out. Add lots and lots of visuals. We haven't even begun to talk about visuals. Videos, images, presentations, whatever you've got, put them on your profile wherever they are appropriate so that your profile stands out from those that are dull and boring and have very little content. This is your place to shine. Make yourself unforgettable on LinkedIn by ensuring that you've got keywords, videos, and every part of your profile all completed. And don't forget those recommendations.
Thank you. That is wonderful. This has been a great conversation. I think, in my opinion, we should do it again.
Yes,
If you're up to it.
of
There's
course.
there's a ton of questions that I still have for you. But I think we have a lot to digest right now.
I think
And
so.
let me know when you're available on a Tuesday, same time, same place, and it could be once a month, it could be next week, whatever is good for you. But this conversation, we are all struggling right now to figure out the job market and LinkedIn and what's real and what's not real and the easy apply and how to really pivot ourselves. So I want to thank you very, very much for your time, Lanier. Thank you very much for your friendship. You have been a wonderful advocate over the past few weeks, just kind of reaching out, pushing me, telling me, hey, you need to do this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I do. I really thought today was supposed to be 5 p.m. because that's when we did it last time. I don't know why I had that, but thank God I was sitting here at the computer, as you could have just said. I didn't have my lights on and my headset on, but I appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate you too, Bill. And time zones are a little tricky. I absolutely get that. And who knows who's right and who's wrong, but
Who
here we are.
cares? We're here.
Who cares, right? We've had a great conversation. I've absolutely deluged you with information, which I do tend to do. I do apologize for that, but I will remind you
No, it's good
that I
stuff.
do have a PDF of all of these recruitment features if you would like to. All you need to do is reach out to me via DM. If we're not connected or you're not following me, please do. I have open profile on, so you don't even need to do that to be able to get in touch with me. And if you do want to take it all a little bit further, I'm very happy to talk to you about my Linkability members community and how you can check that out free for a week or so and just see whether you'd like to learn more about LinkedIn in that way. And Bill, I want to have a chat with you about that one too.
Yeah, I was about to ask you, how do I become a member? So,
Well, you and I will have a chat about that once we finish the call.
okay, sure will. Before we let everyone go, I'm going to tell everyone that I am doing a live stream on Wednesday, which is tomorrow at 6 p.m. It's going to be a follow-up with Philip Thomas, Ethan Sperlin, and I, and it's going to be a Louis wine tasting live on air. So
Oh,
one of our and it's a comedy hour, so it's lighthearted. One of the guests that we had on a few weeks ago has his own wine brand. He uh, FedEx us, Ethan and I, a bottle, and I haven't even opened it yet. So we're going to open it, uncork it, talk about life, and go from there.
that sounds like a lot of fun. When did you say that was?
It's tomorrow. I didn't send the invitation out yet because I wanted to complete this first. And I didn't want to get people confused, right? So they're like, is it Monday? Is it Tuesday or Wednesday? So I'm going to set that up in a second and get that out to everyone. So everyone, thank you very much for showing up. Lynette, are you going to stay on? Okay. And you guys be safe, have fun, and I pray and send out great thoughts, whatever you need, that your job search has been made easier today, or you've learned something today from Lanier, not from me, because I'm still trying to figure it out. How to navigate these waters. Bye, guys. I'm just letting this play out, and then I'll add you to the stage, Lanier. Twenty seconds. 10 seconds. It's the longest outro ever. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.